Hi boys and girls. Today we're going to draw Plankton from SpongeBob SquarePants. And first I want to go over where the name Plankton came from. Like, why is this character named Plankton, and what is Plankton actually in real life, right? Plankton is also called phytoplankton. I know that's a big, huge, long word. Don't let long words scare you, okay? Long words are usually made up of just little short words. Look, there's the word top right there. There's the word plan. There's the word lank. There's the word plank. There's the word ton. There's all kinds of short words in there, aren't there? And they just make up this longer word. But if we sound it out, our PH sound, ph, so that's phi, toe, plankton, phytoplankton. And they just, usually most people call phytoplankton, which are underwater plants, just kind of like seaweed, okay? They usually shorten that word to plankton because they don't want to say phytoplankton every time they have to say plankton, okay? So, like I said, phytoplankton, or plankton, as most scientists will call it, it's an underwater plant, and along with seaweed, phytoplankton and seaweed produce most of our planet's oxygen. Did you guys know that? Trees produce oxygen, right? Did you guys learn that yet? That tree leaves, when the sunlight hits them, they go through this process and oxygen comes out. Okay? Well, they produce oxygen for us to breathe, but plankton and seaweed produce more than half of our planet's oxygen. So every time you take a breath, guess what? A lot of it is because of phytoplankton and seaweed. Okay? Alright, so anyway, that phyto, that first part there, phyto, anytime you see that in front of a word, that is when we're talking about some kind of a plant. So when they say phyto something and there's another word behind it, that means that word probably came from a plant source. Okay? Alright, enough of the big words, enough of the science lesson. Let's draw. This is supposed to be art, right? We're supposed to be drawing stuff, but there's never a bad time to learn about everything, okay? I want you guys to learn about everything you can learn about. And art makes you smart, right? So we just learned a whole bunch of stuff, and we're even smarter now than we were 3.5 minutes ago. Okay, so Plankton, the cartoon character, is a long jelly bean kind of a shaped guy. Okay, so we're sketching super light. I'm kind of holding my pencil in the middle. You can hold it even farther back. Normally I hold it about back here like this. But Plankton, we're going to make this long kind of jelly bean shape. It kind of goes in the middle there a little bit and kind of goes like that. Jelly bean, or kind of a peanut shape, right? Then the other main component of Plankton is he's got one big eyeball, right? One big round circle for an eyeball, and he's got these two little tiny nubby little U-shaped legs. It's like you wonder how he can stand up on those little tiny legs, right? But it's fiction, so that's how he does it, because it's fiction. This leg's not as long as the other one. Let's make it a little tiny bit longer. Good thing I drew super light, so that way I can erase it until I get it right. Okay, a little bit longer there. Alright, 2 little tiny skinny legs. He's also got 2 little tiny skinny arms. And let me erase this right here. I did a little bit of a kind of a scribble there that I don't want to have to erase later on. Okay, and his arms are actually really easy, but there's about 3 parts. Okay, we've got this skinny upside down U shape at the top here, skinny upside down U shape at the top of this one, but we're not gonna connect it right there. We're gonna go like an upside down kind of a J shape with a line coming down out of it like that. Then we're going to erase that little tiny bit of his body line right there. Hope you guys can see that. Let's zoom in a little tiny bit. I'll zoom in Fred here. Fred, my camera that doesn't like to focus sometimes because I move my hands around too much. That's my fault. Alright, so I've erased that little tiny line going right through there, and those are the tops of the arms, right? The bottoms of the arms, guess what? They're real skinny too, and it gets a little bit more narrow here at this end than it does down at this end. So let's do the same thing over here on this side. Let's make our little elbow come down here and make a little V shape there, and it kind of, you can make this line kind of curved, a little bit curved, because this is lower arm, skinny kind of wrist, and it gets a little bit wider as it gets down to this end. Okay, and let's make that line a little bit better right there. So right here he's holding up his hands like, what did I do, right? Alright, and this hand over here, we've got ourselves another little bean shape. He doesn't have fingers that are really discernible except for one little thumb sticking up on this hand. Your little tiny thumb, because he's a real tiny character. Little tiny thumb sticking up there, and he's just holding out his hand like, what? And this hand, he's holding up his hand like this, and it's curved. We have a curved line, and then it comes back around and hooks back to his wrist. So it looks like a bowl shape. Okay, so it comes up and out from his wrist, bowl shape like that, and curves around and comes back down and hooks to the other side. And that's all there is to his arms. That's it. Okay, this line here that's inside his eye, of course we want to erase that, right? Because the eye is in the foreground and his body back behind there is in the background. Okay, so let's do this like this. We've got a little bit more there we can erase, but that's okay. We're going to leave it for right now because we've got this little kind of rectangle shape going across here, and that's like the edge of his eyelid. Okay, but we're going to curve it a little bit curved across the eyeball and just past it a little tiny bit on that side. And then let's darken this here on that side and this side. Oh, sorry, we've got another little line like right there that curves down like that, almost like a little equal sign there. And this line, let's darken that up a little bit, but we're going to put an eyebrow. He's got one eyeball and one eyebrow. Okay, so we're going to put that up top, so we don't need to be worried about darkening that in at all. Okay, so So we've got our side over here with our little eyelid portion. So let's erase that little tiny line we had inside that spot right there. And if you erase some of the stuff you drew that you really want to keep, you can put it back there. It's no problem. Okay. Let's make this line a little bit thicker, like that. Okay. Alright, so we've got the little side rectangle over here, curves around, little bit of a line up here. Well, Miss Fink, why didn't you make a rectangle over there? Well, good question. That's because there is a C shape that actually goes over the front of his eye and comes way back around like this. That's his little cheek, because he's smiling like crazy right now. Because you know, Plankton is always up to something. He's always got some kind of devious plan going on. So that's the corner of his cheek right there. Okay. There's also a little bit of a dark curved kind of line right there in the middle of the top of his eyelid. Okay. And since he's got one eye, that means he's got one pupil, and it's part of a circle, not a whole one, well, part of an oval actually. Okay, that comes down out of his eyelid, and there's one little tiny highlight circle inside that oval, and we can darken in the rest of our eye right now. Okay, and let's do the eyebrow, and then that way we'll be done with our eyeball. Okay, actually before I do that, I think I want to make that eyeball part a little tiny bit bigger, not much, just a little bit bigger like that. And then since I just drew over my eyelid line, I'm going to darken that in a little bit. Okay. Alright. So, this is all going to get colored in with, he's got an orange like pupil on his eye, usually. So, I'm going to do my little, there's my little shape, there's my little highlight. Okay, and now let's do the eyebrow, and then we'll be done with the eye. So the eyebrow is just a bunch of curved kind of lines all drawn on top of each other, kind of like this. It looks like it's been put on with a paintbrush, because it looks like brush marks on the sides, on each end of the eyebrow here. So you can draw it kind of rough. Let a couple of pencil lines stick out like that, and let a couple of them stick out on the other side too. Okay, and then you're done with the eyebrow. Alright, so we've got eyeball, arms, legs, body. We just need mouth and antennas. Alright, so let's do the mouth part, because it's pretty easy. This line curves around, starts up at the middle of the cheek, on the bottom side of the cheek there, curves around, kind of matching the eyeball curve, like that. See? And then he's got about 5 teeth that stick out, and they go back, curve that line back up to kind of match this one at the top, but let this little part right here sticks out. Come on, Fred, focus. There we go. Sticks out just a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to draw the bottom part. Is going to come down here like this. Okay, so we're going to start up here where we started the other corner, or the top, I should say, actually. start up here in the corner of the mouth where we started the top and go straight down, but then it makes a pretty decent U shape like that. And I'm going to draw this line a little tiny bit thicker like that. And then we're going to draw 4 lines in here to separate his teeth. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And this one's kind of a diagonal line like that. 4. Okay, and then he's got this little curved line there, little bump like that, and then a little tiny bump like that. There's his tongue. Okay, and then a little bit of a line underneath there. Okay, now all we've got left are antennae, and that's it. And those are super simple. This first one here comes out of the top of his head, big curved line going up like that. Right beside it, start at the bottom again, big curved line going up like this into a point like that. Okay, so that means we have to erase this little tiny bit right there of that line. So now the antenna is in the foreground and the back of his head's in the background. Okay, same thing with the other antenna, but it's kind of in the background. It's behind, coming from behind his head, big curved line. Okay, and don't be afraid to turn your paper a little bit if it'll help you draw those lines a little easier. Okay, curved line like that. And he's got these 4 little bars or lines, but they look like super skinny rectangles or a thick line, however you want to think of them, running through each antenna. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to go over this with a Sharpie, so I'm not super worried about getting the pencil lines exactly right now, but I want them to be, you know, really close, so I don't have much work to do later on. Okay, alright, so there's your plankton. Let me zoom out a little bit. There's your plankton, and go back and refine things that you might not have drawn dark enough, or if you don't really like the way a certain line looks, don't be afraid to go back over it, erase a little bit of it, check it. This line can actually be erased here, because this little leg, you can kind of attach it like that, so it's in the foreground. And let's get rid of this stuff on the sides there. Okay, so there's your plankton. Hope you had fun with this drawing. Didn't even take us 20 minutes for the whole thing. Practice, practice, practice. Don't give up. Say, I can, and pretty soon you're going to be amazing and amazed at what you can accomplish if you just do a little bit of practice here and there. Okay? Thanks, guys, and have a fantastic day.